Are we good? Are we ready for this?
I feel good. We can try to do one continuous live take.
What? We're just gonna talk for like 15 minutes and then
Then you're gonna edit it down to like 30 seconds.
Yeah. What's up, everyone? My name's Adam McDormand, and this is Medium Quality. Okay, I decided to ask one of my good friends and music expert extraordinaire to come and talk to us about what I think is probably one of the seminal works of jazz music, Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. Basically, what we have here is 5 different pressings of this album. So we thought it would be cool to sit down and compare some of these and see how they stack up against one another.
So we wanted to talk about pressing that you're actually going to be able to find in a record store. We wanted to give you a representative review of the most common pressings you're going to find. Everything from like a gray market, open copyright pressing from the UK up until a mid-60s pressing on Columbia, which will probably be the most expensive, readily available pressing that you're going to see.
How did you first get into this album?
I got into jazz through kind of a back door, like really weird atonal free jazz. So I started listening to Miles Davis's later records. So I was really interested in records like Big Fun, records like In a Silent Way, which is the last record he puts out before Bitches Brew, which is a total freak out. Really enjoyed Live Evil. And I put on Kind of Blue, and it's seminal and it's important, but I wasn't interested. A few years later, after I got really into jazz, mostly out of just boredom with American music, and I'd kind of just tapped out, so I started listening to lots and lots and lots of jazz, and lots of crazy world music as well at the same time. And that is a topic of much debate among you and I, but
yeah, for sure.
Sometimes you don't want to listen to Jimi Hendrix, you want to listen to Jimi Hendrix of Thailand because it's different. And it made tremendous sense to me, having seen kind of a full canon of jazz. I kept trying to avoid Miles Davis's earlier works. You can't escape that stuff. You have to really pay a debt to Davis. Everybody likes his record. So there's a part of you that just wants to be like, no, man, I'm not into Kind of Blue. I like Milestones, or I like Miles Smiles, or I like Miles in the Sky, or I like Water Babies. That's my favorite record. I'm really into Water Babies, or pick one of his records from the 80s. Like I love him playing flugelhorn over double bass and like an 808 drum kit. Like I want that. And then you come back to Kind of Blue, and what you find is the best players in jazz not engaging in what is traditionally the, I think, downfall of hard bop, which is like this one-upsmanship, like this attempt to cut each other and to like win the battle.
For me, his entire catalog was just so intimidating that I didn't even know where to start. And so that was kind of the thing that kept me from getting into jazz at all, because Miles Davis, in a lot of ways, and for a lot of people, is synonymous with jazz music.
Right.
And so I didn't know where to start until you sent me a documentary called 1959, The Year That Changed Jazz, which talks not just about Kind of Blue, but Mingus's The Shape of Jazz to Come by Ornette Coleman, and
Take Five,
that's right.
By Brubeck.
And so seeing that whole story kind of allowed me to put this album into context, gave me a starting point for jazz music. That makes this a really special album for me, just as like, here's where you start, here's your intro to jazz music, and have it be something that is so challenging without being inaccessible. And I think that's extraordinary about this album. So my copy of this album looks completely different than all of yours. So
Yeah.
what's
So
up
why?
with that?
So let me trade you for a moment. So this is a what's called a gray market European press, and what you're getting is a public domain pressing that's coming usually from CD. They don't have source. They don't have source tapes. They don't have the original masters. If you take a look at this, the reason why the artwork is different is because they didn't have the images, and you're not getting your original sources, and that's the issue. Like this is from a CD, so you're not getting that appropriate mix on here because you're sourcing it from a CD, probably a CD that was remastered in the 80s or 90s for CD. So the likelihood this is going to be as full at a soundstage is just not the case. So the one that you're going to see the most often in a shop that's new, it's going to be a Columbia Legacy pressing. What you're going to look for is this L on the back. That's part of the Legacy series. They're going to be indistinguishable. So if you take a look at this one, not a whole lot of change, right? I mean, the covers, after you flip it over, you're going to have different markings. And for a new press, this is going to really indicate to you that it's the Legacy pressing. This is the flagship pressing that Columbia has put out. They own the masters. This is sourced from the masters. If you take a look at this, rather, there are actually 6 eyes. So if you see that, and you count those eyes on the side, there are 6 of them. So this is the label that was used by Columbia in the early 50s, up until the mid 60s, when you get a 2-eye variant, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this pressing, we listened to it, we liked it. What you have is a nice 180 gram pressing that is never going to set you back more than about $30. So this is an original 2-eye Columbia label from the mid 60s. As you can see, there's only 2 eyes there. And what you'll find with these 2-eye labels is that you can run them over with a garbage truck, and as long as you don't actually scratch across the grooves, it can have tremendous amounts of scuffing and surface wear, and they'll sound great. They clean up really well. I bought this one on the cheap, marked as rough in a record store. It wasn't that rough. It sounds better than some of the other presses we've listened to. I think that it has a much wider sound stage. Hey, do you like colored vinyl? Do you like jazz? Then I got the record for you. Well, we pressed them in a limited number, but we won't disclose that number.
One of the other ones that we have here is a recent Amazon exclusive reissue of the album. And the cool thing about this one is it's actually pressed on blue vinyl, which I think is really pretty cool.
It hits all the buttons.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah, I'm definitely a sucker for colored vinyl, which is problematic. And there's nothing like particularly distinctive about this other than that, but I think this is like purposely marketed toward like the new vinyl collector, because lots of stuff is getting put out on colored vinyl, and why not, right? So this is yours. This is the one that I was most excited to hear when you brought this over today. This is the Mo-Fi like deluxe press of this album.
Yeah, it's a Lisa half-speed master. It's pulling from the original source tapes. It is 45 RPMs, so you get that better, higher fidelity sound. Everything that Mobile Fidelity Sound Labs touches is absolutely incredible. You really can't find a bad pressing in the series. Quality control is incredible. The booklet is amazing.
Yeah.
The Mo-Fi pressing really wins hands down in regards to the fullest sound. The 2-eye Columbia from the era, I think, had the nicest soundstage. But in this day and age, the likelihood you're going to come across a clean copy of an original 2-eye, or even an earlier pressing at an affordable rate, not likely.
We sat down and listened to the first track on all 5 of these. So we listened to the opening to So What, which is like really iconic, and because it's such a dynamic piece of music, you really get the full range and get a chance to kind of listen to what sets each of these pressings apart. The question is, how would we rank these? Which of these sounds best, and which are the ones that we might want to avoid?
I would recommend the Mobile Fidelity box. It sounds incredible. It's sourced well. They treat the history appropriately. I can't speak highly enough to the packaging. Conversely, if I was going to avoid a pressing at all cost, the pressing that I would avoid would be the Wax Time. Again, great starter records. Great way to build a jazz collection. I have some of these in my collection because I don't want to shell out $50, $75, $100 for records that have not come back into print. However, you're dealing with sourcing that's for a different medium altogether, and you're going to pay for that every time. In between, the Sony Legacies. So if your choice is between spending $20 to $25 on the Sony Legacy or $20 to $25 on Wax Time, as a rule, I would just never spend more than about $16, $17 on a Wax Time pressing.
Big thanks to my boy Russ. I will put a link in the show description down below where you can follow his Instagram. Dude, your Instagram is fantastic. There's always like really cool shots of some pretty strange stuff.
Yeah. I listen to everything.
Yeah.
Except for the things I don't.
Yeah, he's not joking about that. But definitely check out his Instagram. If you are anywhere in the like greater Phoenix area, there's information on there about where to go to buy the stuff that he's picking up and
You want to
selling.
buy my records? I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah, I know I do.
Yeah.
I've definitely gotten some good stuff from you. Should we
pleasure.
Should we shake hands?
Let's shake hands.
That's the first time we've ever touched skin.